She was born with everything, except the one thing she needed most. From private jets to penthouse views, Isabella lived a life most people only dream of. Her days were filled with designer labels, gala events, and high society smiles. But behind the Instagram-perfect facade was a quiet ache. Her wealth built walls, not bridges. No one saw her, only her last name, her lifestyle, her legacy. Until one rainy afternoon in Central Park changed everything. He was a street performer with nothing but a worn guitar, a wild imagination, and a spark in his eyes. He played for coins, not crowds, for stories, not status. And when he sang, it wasn't her family fortune he noticed, it was her silence. Drawn into a world of rooftop jam sessions, late-night subway rides, and truth told through music, Isabella began to unravel everything she thought defined her. She laughed without filters, cried without shame. Love, for the first time, wasn't about appearance or approval. It was raw, real, and free. But could a girl born in a gilded cage ever truly live outside it? This is the full story of private jets, public loneliness, where love dares to cross the lines money draws, and freedom is the ultimate rebellion. From the outside, Isabella's life sparkled. She woke up in silk sheets, her room a blend of modern art and marble floors. A butler delivered her breakfast, avocado toast carved like roses, gold-dusted strawberries, fresh-pressed juice from fruits flown in that morning. Every detail of her day was curated, controlled, and cloaked in opulence. But inside, everything felt cold. Her schedule was packed with charity luncheons and designer fittings. She smiled for cameras, nodded through conversations she wasn't part of, and attended galas where everyone knew her name, but no one knew her. Her phone buzzed constantly, emails, texts, reminders, but not one message ever asked how she was doing. Not really. Her parents were always in motion, Paris, Dubai, Tokyo, chasing business deals and magazine covers. At dinner, she sat alone at a long table meant for 20. At night, the silence was deafening, louder than the jets she flew in. Even her friendships felt transactional. Girls envied her, boys pursued her last name. The only constant was her driver, who knew never to ask questions. She often stared out of tinted windows, wondering, if everyone wants my life, why don't I? Her heart was full of noise, but no one ever heard her. It was supposed to be just another disguise. Hoodie up, sunglasses on, Isabella slipped out through the service elevator of her building. She wandered the streets anonymously, a ghost wrapped in couture. The rain had turned the sidewalks slick and reflective, and for once, the world felt real, imperfect, messy, alive. Drawn by the faint sound of music, she found herself in Central Park. There, under an old elm tree, stood a boy with a guitar that had seen better days. He played like he was telling secrets only the rain could understand. People passed by without noticing, but Isabella stopped completely. He looked up. For a moment, time tilted. Kai didn't blink or flinch. He just nodded at her like he'd been expecting her all along. He strummed a softer chord and sang a line that hit her like a memory. You can buy the sky, but not the sun. It wasn't a pickup line. It wasn't performance. It was truth. She dropped a 20 in his open guitar case, but he didn't look at the money. He looked at her, not the way people looked at her in photos, but like he was trying to read a language written behind her eyes. And for the first time, she let him. They met again the next day, and the day after that. No fancy restaurants, no chauffeurs, just street corners, park benches, and places no one cared about last names. Kai would play his guitar, and Isabella would listen like it was the first time she'd heard anything honest. They talked, really talked, about music, about loneliness, about how the stars look brighter when you're broke but dreaming. Kai never asked who she really was. He just called her Izzy, and somehow she liked that better than Miss Langford. In him, she found the freedom to be unfiltered. She laughed at his bad jokes, cried when he sang certain songs, and shared memories she'd never spoken aloud. Like the time she watched her own birthday party from the staircase because her parents forgot to invite her friends. Or how she used to write songs no one ever heard. Kai listened with an intensity that made her feel visible. He told her his story, too. How he left home at 17, slept in subways, and sang not for fame, but to stay sane. Music, he said, doesn't need permission. It just needs to be heard. With him, Isabella wasn't her inheritance. She was her soul. Isabella knew it couldn't stay secret forever. One evening, she invited Kai to a private rooftop event, a charity gala thrown by her mother. She said it would be fun, but really, she just wanted to see if her two worlds could touch without crumbling. Kai arrived in a borrowed jacket and scuffed shoes, holding a flower he picked from a sidewalk crack. Everyone noticed him, but not for the reasons she did. Whispers flew. Who was he? A waiter? A +1 gone rogue? Her parents were livid. Her mother pulled her aside. "You're embarrassing us. Do you even know who he is?" Isabella's voice cracked. "He's the only person who knows who I am." Kai, sensing the tension, slipped away before dessert. No goodbye, just vanished. The next day, she found him in the park, playing the saddest version of the song they once laughed to. She tried to explain, to apologize, but he stopped her. "You don't have to choose me, Izzy. Just choose yourself." That night, she sat alone in her penthouse. The view never looked so empty. Her reflection in the glass didn't look like her anymore. For the first time, she didn't want her world. She wanted a new one. She didn't pack much, just a small suitcase, a worn-out notebook of songs, and the necklace Kai once made her from a guitar string and a subway token. Her father didn't believe she was serious. "You'll be back in a week," he scoffed. "You don't know how to live without luxury." But she wasn't leaving for less. She was leaving for more. Isabella walked out of the penthouse with her head high and her heart pounding. She traded the endless silence of wealth for the hum of street life, the scent of corner coffee, and the freedom to be no one in particular. She moved into a tiny flat above a laundromat where the walls were thin and the dreams were loud. It wasn't glamorous. There was no valet, no concierge, no catered dinners. But there was music, there was laughter, there was air she could finally breathe. When Kai opened his door and saw her standing there, with nothing but truth in her eyes, he didn't say a word. He just stepped aside and let her in. That night, she slept soundly for the first time in years, because finally she wasn't living someone else's life. She was living her own. The days that followed weren't perfect, but they were real. Isabella and Kai began performing together, him on guitar, her with a voice that trembled at first, but found its strength in every verse. They sang in parks, on subway platforms, at open mics. Crowds gathered not for their names, but for their sound, for their story. People started to recognize them, not from tabloids, but from truth. A former heiress and a street performer, weaving melodies out of heartbreak, hope, and healing. They didn't have millions, but they had mornings filled with laughter, afternoons chasing sunsets, and nights falling asleep on each other's shoulders. She learned how to make coffee without a butler, how to budget, how to walk in the rain without an umbrella and not feel lost. Her parents never quite understood. That was okay, because Isabella had finally rewritten her life, not as a Langford, but as a woman who dared to choose something bigger than legacy, love. And in a world obsessed with status, she became living proof that sometimes the greatest luxury is to be seen, truly seen. So if you ever hear music floating down a city street, stop and listen. You might just hear a love story singing back.
Emotional piano with soft strings, gentle acoustic and ambient, and elements of hope and melancholy, perfect for a story of wealth, isolation, and